Hello everyone, how are y'all doing? K-Bob here, and look at my sweet new ship that I have. Of course I am just kidding. This is the Concord police ship right here. And this is the topic of today's video as we cover the security status. And this is of course geared towards those that are new to EVE Online. Where is my ship? Here it is. And security status plays a big big impact of the game here, and really tells you how safe the system you are in, just how overall how safe it is. And it can be divided essentially into three classes. You have the high security space, the low security space, and null security, or zero security. And what category of space you're in is dictated by this number here of security status, and this goes from 1.0 all the way down to negative something. I don't really remember what it is, but you can look here on the map, kind of get an idea. So here's negative 0.01, and usually the darker the color, the less security is. So that's 0.05, negative 0.05, 0.5. That might be the lowest, but beyond 0, it doesn't really matter. So let's focus on high security in the beginning. So high security is 0.5 all the way up to 1.0. So blue down to orange, essentially, in the color scale. And essentially what that means is you are relatively safe. The closer you are to 1, the safer you are. And what that means is normally ships cannot attack you. If they do attack you, Concord, which was with the ship that I showed you in the beginning, they will warp to your position and blow whatever ship is attacking you away. They will blow them away really, really quickly. And the rate, the speed in which they warp to you is dictated by the how closer you are to safer space. So 1.0 security space, which is the most secure, they will warp to you just about instantaneously. 0.5 may take a couple seconds. So in 0.5, it's a little bit easier for a ship to what's called suicide gank you, where they destroy your ship faster than Concord can destroy their ship. And the benefit for them is if your ship has more value than theirs, they're gonna have a buddy that wasn't involved in that go over there and loot your ship. So as always, you can think of EVE kind of like the Wild West. Always be on your guard, and really only fly a ship if you're able to afford another one, essentially. So don't spend a whole lot of money on a ship. You're like, oh, this is my best ship, I don't have enough money for anything else, because odds are you will lose the ship. And that's just life. That's EVE. That is what it's like in the Wild West. The further you get out away from the law, the more lawlessness there is. In lower security, so that's 0.04 to 0.1. I'm not gonna fly over there. I am not ready for that. The only security that there is there will be turrets around the gates, and I think around the stations as well. Anything else, a player can come by and shoot you, and then you can just, your only bet is to warp away, maybe to a gate, and try and get away, because the turrets there will shoot at them. But yeah, that's when PvP starts happening. That's where factional warfare is located. The game gets a lot more fun and more interesting. Null security is there, like how it is. There is no security there whatsoever. That is where player-owned corporations have sovereignty, and they fight for space. So looking at the star map here, this is the beta version of it. You can see all the red is nullsec, and all that can be owned by players. There are certain ships that can only be built out there. I think, yeah, like Titans and the super carriers can only be built and flown out there. It's a whole different beast than what high and even low security is. So really, what are some benefits to, you know, just as a PvE experience? Because obviously the more PvP there is when you get into lower and null security, but what about PvE, which is something that I'm a bit more interested in? Well, the further away you are from the law and whatnot, obviously that's where more pirates are, and more stronger pirate ships are, and obviously their bounty is a lot higher. There are more valuable ore out there, better relic and data sites, better what are they called, pirate sites, and all of that. So the lower in security you go, the better that is. But you run the risk, which is what I like, of running into a player and them hunting you. So there's always that risk of you're looking for things, but at the same time people might be looking for you. It throws a little bit of adrenaline into it, that you're like, oh man, I need to finish this site quick because there's someone might be on me. It adds a different element to the game that you don't get in most other MMOs, and actually some consider EVE Online more of a space simulation than an MMO, because it does have a community of its own. And that's mostly due to the fact that this is very much like the Wild West, that you have just that one NPC security, Concord, then after that the rules are what you make of it. So yeah, I think later on in this series I may be ready for lower security, but as of right now, since I'm still relatively new to the game, I don't want to fly out there because I'll just get blown away. I might set up a planetary interaction, might do some planet mining in lower security, because doing it in high security you really don't get that much out of it. And I'll do that only because I can do that safely. I'll need to get cloaking learned first, because that's a very valuable tool, because it's much more difficult for them to find you when you're cloaked. But yeah, it's just a little short video over this because I never really mentioned it before. It's a vital part of the game. It kind of lets you know what the rules are to an extent in the system that you're in, and usually it'll let you know when you're flying into lower security and null security. Whenever you warp in, it'll give you a warning letting you know, are you sure you want to do this? And you can always say, don't remind me about this again, but I usually have it on there just because sometimes I can forget about it and I really don't want to warp there. And yeah, it adds another little thing just to make sure that you're mentally ready for it, because sometimes gate camps do happen and you might say, oh, I want to venture out into low security for the first time, and you get there and you're gate camped and you might be blown away. So just a little brief thing into that before we leave here. You can actually go to the main map here, not the beta one, and kind of use the search terms here and just kind of see, just to help with that if you ever want to travel there. You can have this for security status, and you can kind of go to statistics and kind of see here. It's just the average number of pilots in that area in the last 30 minutes. You can kind of see where you are. So if you ever wanted to go to a place that was low security, let's see if we can find one. Here, you can kind of look and say, oh, there hasn't really been that many people there in the last 30 minutes. That might be safe to fly into. You can kind of look here for these fields. Over here, that might not be a good place to go to. Ships destroyed in the last hour. This is a pretty good indicator. A lot of action always happens in Jeddah, but that's just because it's Jeddah. That is the biggest. I think it's still the biggest trade hub in the game. But you can see, oh, look at this. A lot of ships are destroyed here. Not sure if that's good, but that also counts for PvP and PvE. So going back to our little place, not a whole lot has happened here, so that might be a safe place to fly to. Here, on the other hand, may not be, because one ship was destroyed in the last hour, and that's essentially a hub to go there. A lot more ships. Oh, the ship was destroyed there too. And here, so you may have some trouble actually getting to there, just based off of the pipeline. But yeah, running through this here, this might be a good way of judging whether an area is safe or not. You can see how active different regions are, and this is just a good way also to kind of plan out where you want to go, especially when traveling into lower security space. But I think that's about it for this video. This is K-Bob here, signing out, and fly safely, guys.